Joe. He'll walk you through the concepts on the go. If there's any device you've got, see the show. Cowboy Joe. Cowboy Joe.
Cowboy Joe here with a recapitulation of section 12.21 on the Laws of Thermodynamics. Your goal by the end of this lecture will be to be able to state the first and second laws of thermodynamics, as well as solve energy transfer problems. The first law of thermodynamics states that the change in thermal energy of an object is equal to the heat that is added to the object minus the work done by that object. It is considered a reinstatement of the law of conservation of energy and can be summarized in an equation that says the energy absorbed plus the energy released has to equal zero. So if that's the case, and our two energies, one's absorbed and one's released, one's going to have a negative amount, and you can set these guys equal to each other. So the change in one energy has to equal the change in the other. You're basically saying one energy is transferred to the other energy. Now the energies could be work, kinetic energy, potential energy, heat energy, or sound, light. We're not going to talk about those though. Again, with these types of problems, all you got to do is identify the two types of energies talked about and set them equal to each other. Velocity is given, then kinetic energy would equal to work. If work's given. So we have a variety of different equations that can be derived with this first law of thermodynamics. So let's look a closer look at the energies, formulas. Heat energy would be considered Q, and its formula is mc delta T. So to identify heat energy, all you got to do is look for some kind of change in temperature. Kinetic energy involves the energy of motion. So in the problem, something has to be moving and a velocity may be given to identify kinetic energy. Now, potential energy is the energy of position. So if something is raised to a certain height, that's what the H stands for in this formula. Mass times gravity times height. So if a height is given, then you have to think potential energy. But there are other energies like work, sound, light. Work, we do know a formula, force times a distance. That's going to be an indication if somebody is pushing with a certain force, moving an object a certain distance. All of these energies are measured in joules. So let's look at a problem. This automobile is flying at 25 meters per second and it slams on the brakes. All of the energy of motion is moved into the brakes. The question says, what would be the change in temperature of the brakes? Well, if we look at the automobile, it's moving. The energy of motion would be KE. And if all of the energy went into the brakes, and the question is, what is the change in temperature? That's two indications that we want to use Q, or heat energy. All of the kinetic energy goes into heat energy in this problem. So KE's formula is 1/2 mv squared. Q's formula is mc delta T. Now these variables are referring to the brakes. These variables are referring to the automobile. These masses are not the same. This is the mass of the automobile. This is the mass of the brakes. For this one, we have a 1,500 kilogram mass, and it's moving at 25 squared. This is 45 kilogram mass of the brakes. The brakes material is aluminum, which has a specific heat, the C of 897, times that delta T. So on your calculators, 1/2 times 1,500 times 25 squared, divided by 45, divided by 897, gives us a change in temperature of 12 K, or 12 degrees C. Let's look at another problem. A drill bores a small hole in a 0.4 kilogram block of aluminum and heats up the aluminum while doing this. If the drill went this distance force is involved, how much force was pushed on the drill. It says distance and force. I'm thinking work. What other form of energy is talked about in this problem? Well, this right here indicates a temperature. Degrees C, temperature, Q. So we have two formulas identified, and we're assuming all of the work went into the thermal energy. So in this problem, we could say mc delta T equals force times distance. This would be the mass of the aluminum block times the specific heat of the aluminum block times the temperature change of the aluminum block. And that equals the force times the distance. So when you multiply those three and divide, we end up with 40,000 newtons. All right, let's look at another problem. This one says, how many times would you have to drop a bag of shot in order to raise its temperature by a degree? I see the degree symbol, and I see from a height. That right there tells us the two energies talked about, but this one's a little different. It says, how many times would you have to drop it? So we can throw in a variable, x, into our equation. How many PEs is equal to the 1Q? X times PE equals Q. Q's formula would be mc delta T. PE's formula would be mgh. Both are talking about the bag of shot. Both M's represent the same thing, so the M's can be divided out in our equation. So we have C for the lead shot, which would be the 130, times the change in temperature, which would be 1. How many of those are in this G times H? So G is 9.8 times 1.5, and we can solve for 8.8. Now the question is, how many times would you have to drop it in order to increase it by 1? Well, if you do you can't drop something 0.8 times. So how many times would it be? Would 8 be enough? 8 would not be enough. It wouldn't raise a whole degree or a whole Kelvin. So we have to drop this thing 9 times. Let's look at another one like that. When you stir a cup of tea, you do about this much work. Joules is given in this one, of work each time you circle the spoon. Well, how many times would you have to circle the spoon to increase the temperature of the tea by 2 Kelvin or 2 degrees C? We already see work in this one, and we see a degree symbol. So that tells us work is equal to Q. Well, which one? How many times? How many works equal Q? So it's going to be X times this number. X times work equals Q. Our Q formula again is mc delta T, and we're talking about the mass of the T, which is given, and work is force times distance, but it's given. Work is already calculated for us, 0.050. On the left-hand side, we insert the mass of the cup of tea times, well, tea and water is about the same thing. It's just stained water. You know, you put a little tea bag in your water and heat it up. That's what tea is. So it's mostly water. So we're going to use 4180 for our C. And the change in temperature is 2K. So multiply these guys, divide by this number, and round it off to 2 sig figs. We're looking at 25,000 times. We're going to have to stir that cup of tea to increase its temperature. And a cool roller coaster ride, Sky Rush at Hershey Park, has its first hill 56.6 meters higher than the first low point. Assuming that no energy is lost to friction, which a little bit is, what would be the maximum speed you could achieve at Hershey Park? So we're looking at 56.6 as a height. That would be PE. And the question is, what is the max speed? So that's going to be V, which is an indication of kinetic energy. So at this point, we want to put PE equal to KE. If all of the potential energy is converted into kinetic energy, we could calculate with the formulas how fast it's going. The mass in this problem is going to be the same and will cancel out. So this is gravity times height equals 1/2 V squared. And solving for V, we can see all we have to do is take the square root of this product. 2 times gravity times the highest hill, or the drop from the highest hill, 56.6. And that gives us 33.3 meters per second. So if you live in the United States, we're not used to meters per second. We want to convert it to mile per hour. So how fast is that? Well, using dimensional analysis, 33.3 meters Over 1 second, we can convert it to miles per hour, understanding there's 3,600 seconds in an hour, and in 1 mile, there is approximately 1,600 meters, 1,609 point something to be more precise. So about 75 mile an hour would be a good guess how fast you're going to be going in Hershey Park. And that's it. There are roller coasters that are faster. Let's go to another park. I think this is from Cedar Point. Cedar Point, the Magnum XL 200 has its first hill drop, a little bit lower than that. Assuming no energy is lost, how fast will it be going at the bottom? Well, if we look at the KE, we have that same derivation. All we got to do is plug it in and calculate. Square root of 2 times 9.8 times 52.2 comes up to be 32. So doing that same conversion again, we can change it to mile per hour, and it's only 72, but is that as fast as you can go at Cedar Point? It is not. The Millennium Force has its first hill 87 meters higher than its first low point. So if we do the calculations with 87, it comes up to be 41.3. So is that as fast as you can go at Cedar Point? 93 mile an hour? It is not. The Top Thrill Dragster has its first hill 145 meters higher than the first low point. And your 3-hour wait will give you a 4-second Top Thrill ride. Assuming no energy, we can calculate the fastest you'll go at Cedar Point to be 120 mile an hour. Let's look at the second law of thermodynamics, and it states that natural processes go in a direction that maintains or increases the total entropy of the universe. It basically says things get mixed up. Consider a new deck of cards. All the suits are in order, clubs, diamonds, hearts, and spades. And you start shuffling them. How many times would it take in order to get the cards back in order? So if you shuffle the cards enough, are you likely to return the cards to their original order? The answer is no. What physical law is this an example of? This would be the second law of thermodynamics, which says disorder will increase or maintain. So that's it, folks. We talked about the first law of thermodynamics and solved energy transformation problems. And we talked about the second law, which basically says disorder increases or maintains. Cowboy Joe out.
Cowboy Joe. Cowboy Joe.